We're going live. And we're live. We're ready. We're up and
All
going.
right. Yeah. Well, we're live. I don't know if we're ready.
I'm ready. I'm good. Good to go. Welcome, everyone, to episode 151 of Retro Fandango. Episode 151 is not as many episodes as some other podcasts out there. Some other podcasts have well over 200 episodes, almost 300. But that's really not something to brag about when you're only proud of maybe 50 of those episodes, would you say?
I just got here. What are you talking about?
Never mind. How you doing, Richard?
Well, I can imagine what this is. I would like to have had a handful of raisins or something before starting this, but
You can still go get some raisins. I'll entertain the crowd while you go get some raisins.
Well, I'd have to stand up and walk out of the room and put down my cup of tea to do that.
That sounds very complicated. You're right.
Now, I'm sitting down, so I'm comfortable.
Okay, well, hopefully you last for the next hour and a half.
Hour and a half. What happened to an hour?
We usually end up going an hour and a half. Sometimes an hour and 20 minutes. Sometimes an hour and 10.
If we cut it down to an hour, then we'd be able to, get those episodes out faster. Maybe we can increase those numbers.
Right. Yeah. Well, one thing that we do here that takes a little bit of time is that we promote other podcasts because that is, the kind of quality show that we have here. And
like with commercials, we do that.
Not commercials. We just, out of the goodness of our heart, we promote podcasts like the Quick Save Club, and we remind everyone that this month the Quick Save Club is playing Antichamber, and they'll be playing it next month too. I played a little bit of it. I have no idea what's going on, but hopefully by the end of next month I'll have some idea. CC Prime is playing Gears of War, which we have both played in the past.
That is true.
Yeah. RF Gen is playing Cannon Spike.
I've never played that.
No, me neither. I think it's a shooter.
I know it's a Dreamcast game. Was it an arcade game also?
Maybe. I don't know.
It's a Capcom game.
And CC Portable is riding off into the sunset with CC Portable Mania.
I've done that.
Play any portable game that you want. You played a portable game?
I have played a portable game, and I have ridden off into the sunset.
Very good. Very nice.
I've given up many times.
Well, I did play, out of respect to Curtis, I did fire up my PlayStation Portable, and I put into the machine a game called Midnight Club LA Remix, which is the portable version of Midnight Club LA, which came out on the PS3 and Xbox 360. And I played the game before on the Xbox 360. I started playing it on the PSP, and it's virtually the same game. It's virtually the same thing. Graphics are a lot, a little bit dumber down, but
Fun fact.
Yes.
The only time I ever played a PSP, I played a racing game.
The PSP is loaded with excellent racing games, so that neither shocks nor surprises me. Which racing game did you play?
I don't know.
Oh.
The first one?
The first one? You played the very first racing game?
I think so, because the only time I ever touched a PSP was the first time I came to Japan, which was before it was released. It was when it was just being, promoted as the new thing that long ago. And there was one on display in a store, and I went and I went, ooh, look, I'm pushing buttons and I'm moving a car. And that was the only time I ever played a PSP.
I'm going to guess that's Ridge Racer, because I believe Ridge Racer...
Is that a Sony title?
No, it's a Namco title, but Namco has like a deal, not really a deal, but they just have this thing where they got to be the first racing game on every console since since the first PlayStation. Not that they have to be, it's just a thing that they do.
They just got some agreement, or
I don't know. They were the first racing game on the original PlayStation. Ridge Racer was like the first racing game, and it was a launch title. And then I believe Ridge Racer 5 was a launch title for the PlayStation 2, and then the Xbox 360 launched with Ridge Racer 6. The PS3 launched with Ridge Racer 7. And then I don't know. I think the franchise kind of lost momentum when they did sort of like not a free-to-play thing, but one of those microtransactions, one of those games loaded with microtransactions called Ridge Racer Unbound. I haven't played it yet, but it kind of got, I don't know. And I think I don't know, maybe one of these new consoles will have Ridge Racer 8. Who knows? Nothing's been announced yet. But the one cool thing that those Ridge Racer games do is, because they're owned by Namco, is the loading screens would have like Pac-Man. It would just, Pac-Man would fire up, and you could play Pac-Man while the game loads.
Really?
Yeah, and there'd be like Rally X or.
And then the game would load, and you'd be disappointed you're not playing Pac-Man anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, well, yeah, the game, like, it's loaded, and it's like, well, I'm still playing Pac-Man. Sorry, sorry, game.
I'm looking it up, but I don't care anymore.
Well, they're fun. They're fun racing games. They're difficult. They get difficult. They're not easy, but they're fun. So we have some comments in the chat. Frantic Josh is here, and he wants to know what the Quick Save Club is. He's being a little bit facetious because he is a host of the Quick Save Club. But just for anyone who doesn't know, the Quick Save Club is a game of the bi-month podcast. Every 2 months we pick a game to play, and we talk about it on our Discord channel. So if you want some more information, just hit me up on Twitter or whatever, and I'll direct you to the Quick Save Club, or go to the Quick Save Club directly at Quick Save Club. Then Tokujo says there's some sort of cult, and he is not fully correct, but he's not fully wrong either. He's somewhere in between. Okay, Fandango. For this month, June, we're doing 70s Jack Nicholson. I guess that'll be our next episode. Will be the Fandango. Will be sometime this week. We'll have to find some time to watch The Last Detail, 5 Easy Pieces, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Are you ready to do this for next week, Richard?
Well, I'd have to watch 3 movies.
All right. Do you think you can do that in a week? I think you can.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. I watched 3 movies this past week, so
oh my goodness,
anything is possible.
We'll have stuff to talk about. I haven't watched very many movies this week. It's been a little bit crazy with the guesting on the podcasts and whatnot. So, and then next month, July, Fandango. It'll be the Josh and Curtis Treehouse. We will be watching Attack the Block, It Follows, and the unanimous winner from our Discord channel. I think that's what they're called, Discord channels. I don't know. Was 8th Grade. Everyone in Discord wanted us to watch 8th Grade. So that's what we'll be watching next month.
I still haven't looked any of these up, so I have no idea what we're in for.
Me neither. And I'm just going to go in. I'm going to put them in the Fandango folder. I'm not going to look them up or anything, and I'm just going to go in fresh. I'm going to watch the movie, right? So I don't need to see a teaser or anything. I don't need to be teased to watch it. I'm going to be watching it, so I'm just going to go in fresh.
If you want to watch a teaser, watch that Bill and Ted teaser. Still got that in the back of my head.
Well, I did a little more than that. I watched the Bill and Ted's movies, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, I should update this outline, huh?
Yeah, is there anything you want to talk about?
Wow. I think everything I have is in movies. So.
Okay. Well, I just have one thing outside of movies. So if you recall last week how you dragged the number of Blu-rays and DVDs that Sarah and I both own. That's in both of our collection. And the number was 800. Now, of course, the boys over at the STC podcast had a field day with that number, and they tried to do math, which was an incredible thing to see. I highly recommend that episode. If you ever want to see two guys attempt to do math, head over to that episode. It's like 280 something. It's way up there. If you can find it, if you can find that episode, check it out, because they attempted to put a price tag on my collection, my Blu-ray collection that I share with Sarah. So I won't go into too much, because there's like a lot of questionable numbers that they use. Like this whole $5, everything costs $5.
You spend much more than that.
Well, I mean, really, a lot of the DVDs that Sarah and I buy are $1. They're the $1 DVDs that we find at the Care & Share. So I don't know how they got to $5 a piece, but anyways, they figured out that my collection was worth $4,000. So whatever, okay, sure, I'll take their word for it. I'll take it that it costs, my collection is $4,000. Now, keep in mind that at least 1/4 of the collection, of the Blu-ray and DVD collection combined, at least 1/4 of it is exclusively Sarah's. Like, there is stuff in there that I would have zero interest in watching, because she has different interests in me. So I will take that at least 1/4 is mine, and then 2/4, a half, I think, would be our combined collection, because our tastes do overlap, and then 1/4 is hers. So I took $1,000 out of because if you're just going by me, how much I spent on the collection, I say it's $3,000, and $1,000 of it is Sarah's. You follow me so far? Making sense? Okay. So my collection, I think, is, me personally, I've got $3,000 in there. Now, the very first DVD I bought is still in that collection, and that was bought in the year 1998. So that means my collection is 22 years old. So this is a collection that has been, started 22 years ago, carried on till the year 2020. So if you take $3,000 and you divide that by 22 years, that comes to $136 a year that I have spent on my collection. I spent $136 a year on my collection. I guarantee you, Bill and Joe spend more than $136 a month at the thrift stores. I guarantee you, on broken toys and inventory and Transformers and
books, I was gonna say,
let me tell you.
Forget about thrift stores.
The irony,
shiny little robots cost.
The irony of these two guys trying to shame me and how much I spent on my collection, while they're one is standing in front of inventory, and the other one is sitting in front of boxes of Transformers that cost, I don't know, $1,000 a piece. I don't know, you import them from Japan or something. I don't know how much those things cost.
Shipping alone.
Let me tell you. So yeah, I'm willing to bet. And if they're willing to show their number, I showed my numbers. If they're willing to show their numbers, I'm willing to bet something that they spent more. They spend at least $136 in a month if you add up all the Value Village and the Talese, and because they go every day. They just say like, whatever COVID, bring it on, because I need my broken toys. I need my cassettes that I never play. I need those things. So, if they add up all those receipts, the $30, the $15, the $40 here, every day, that adds up.
I was wondering how you had so much energy at the start of this show. I had a coffee. Itching. You just been itching to get this off your chest.
I had a coffee. Well, let me tell you, I was sitting on my Xbox last night, just having a good time, because my Game Pass thing is about to wrap up. Because I dip in for $1 once in a while, because I don't want to spend the $16.99. So I'm just messing around with the games on the Game Pass. And a little bird comes onto my Xbox. Just a little bird. Just a bird comes on, and a little message that says, "What is STC Pod's obsession with you. They've been going on about you for a half an hour. And I'm like, geez, I don't know. I don't know what the obsession is. So then, of course, I had to tune in, and they refused to repeat anything they said. They were a little, I think they were a little ashamed. But I went back and I listened to it this morning, and Sarah was listening over my shoulder. She's just like, "Whoa, that is some hypocrites there. That is some big time hypocrites." But it's all with peace and love. It's just peace and love. That's the challenge.
Sure.
All right.
Got to get your content from somewhere.
That's right. I mean, all I have is a few movies that we watched this week, so I filled 15 minutes. So thanks, Bill and Joe.
Yeah, really. Got me over my wake-up hump here.
There you go. Ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've been talking. What movies have you been watching?
That's all we're going to do, huh? Just movie talk?
I mean, I really got
that's
nothing
all we
else.
got, really.
I went to work this week. I've been watching cop videos, there's these guys.
Cop videos?
Yeah, there's these guys that... There's these guys that... they're called auditors. Like, what do you have in the States? Your Constitution? They're Constitution auditors.
Mm-hmm.
So they just go into small towns and they I don't want to say wreak havoc, but they just cause a little bit of stink. Do things to see how well the cops know their Constitution and what the constitutional rights are.
Yeah.
So there's like one guy that he's just filming on the sidewalk, right? And the cops get a complaint that the guy is filming inside people's homes. And so then the cops get called, the cops show up and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Can we have your name?" "No, you can't have my name. You don't need my name. I didn't do anything illegal." And they just go on and they have like this dumb argument, and I don't know. I get it. They are providing a little bit of a service because you would want the police to know what your rights are, right? Mm-hmm. You would want officers to know. They should know the Constitution. They should know what you can and cannot do. And a lot of them, like what they expose is a lot of them don't. They have no idea. They just have their training. They do things by rote. Like they don't think. It's just like, no, you're doing something illegal or whatever. And a lot of them are like hell bent on that you're guilty. You're guilty of something because we got a complaint, and they don't like. So I get that part, but then a lot of it is just dumb. Like there was one guy that he wanted to make a point that you can film inside a post office, right? And so he starts filming inside the post office, and the guy behind the counter is like, "Hey, can you turn the cameras off in here? I'm trying to do my job. I'm trying to work." And they're like, "No, we have the right to think." And the guy's like, "I don't care if you have the right. I'm trying to work in here. I don't need you guys filming anything. There's nothing going on or whatever, but there's other customers coming in here. They got packages, how much they pay. There's going to be their information and all that. If you want to," the guy was even like, "If you want to step out of the room, and then when I'm done with all these customers, you could come in and film our transaction, but not film." And the guy was just like being an arse, like, "Oh no, I'm going to cause a big stink, call the police and all that." And it's like, those guys are kind of idiots in that. But a lot of the channels do have like actual, like real, like, instances where people are caught up with the police. Like there was one guy this one was really ridiculous. This one guy was on the side of the road, and he's working inside of his truck. And the cop was convinced that he saw the guy urinating on the side of the street, like behind the truck, right? Mm-hmm. So the guy's working in his truck, and a cop pulls up and says, "Hey, you can't be urinating here. I'm gonna write you a citation." The guy's like, I wasn't urinating. He's like, the cop's like, "No, I saw you urinating." It's impossible that you saw me urinating because I wasn't urinating. So the cop's like, "Well, what's that wet stuff on the ground?" The guy's looking at it, he's like, "I don't know, water." The guy's like, "Well, if it's just water, put your finger in it." So the guy puts his finger in it and says, "Okay, there you go. It's water." And so then the cop's like, "Okay, now lick it." And the guy's like, "Hold on." And he grabs out his phone. He's like, "Okay, I got to record this, And it was a black guy, of course, that this cop is giving a hard time. So they go back and forth, get them. So like those kind of things, those are interesting. Those are legitimate, like, something.
Yeah.
But the people who try to cause these things, they're kind of annoying.
Well, there's a lot more to it than that. Of course, the past few weeks, months, however long it's been since this all started coming to the surface. I feel bad for a lot of the honest cops out there that are just out there trying to do their jobs. There's been a whole big turn on law enforcement in general, and it's a valid point. People are starting to point out, maybe their training is a bit too aggressive, and what they're told and how they're told to act in certain situations is too extreme. But you got a lot of people that are intentionally aggravating them during this time, which is a really stupid thing to do. If a police officer is going beyond what they're supposed to do, and it's recognized and people point that out and there's an issue, fine. If you're going to be a jerk and just go film in a post office and try to get them to come up to you, which is a lot of what I've seen, a lot of people intentionally just staring at cops and being nasty towards them. And I mean, a cousin of mine, he just joined the police force less than a year ago. I'm sure, I don't know what he's been told. I don't know what he's been doing, but he's like right out there. And immediately within his first year, he's probably got a lot of people giving him nasty looks and giving him a hard time simply because other police officers were, caught doing something extreme. So you got to, be smart about this. People don't intentionally start fights. You don't need to.
Yeah.
Because you're just ruining it for everybody.
Well, a lot of the videos were done well before any of this was going on. A lot of them are from the last couple of years. I guess these Constitution auditors have been around for a while. That's what they do. Like a lot of them, it's like that's their YouTube channel. That's their source of income. That's their job.
As you were talking about it, reminded me of Jimmy Justice. That was one I caught years and years ago. It's a guy in New York City who knew traffic laws really well. And he had a big beef with the meter maids. I'm guessing we don't call them meter maids anymore, but that's the term that was used when I was in the States of people who drive around in those little cars giving out tickets and citations. But he would, he had a regular job and everything, but he would go around and film police officers double parking in front of fire hydrants or using their police credentials to park in areas that they wouldn't be allowed to, or running personal errands on their time. And he would go and he'd confront them and record them and just point out how a lot of officers were taking advantage of their privilege, to get away with these things. And a lot of people complaining, of course, and he got into a lot of trouble for it. But that was his thing. He was trying to point out that, look, you're not above the law. You're supposed to be enforcing it. So play by the same rules. So I see the benefit of people doing that kind of stuff, but now's not a good time.
Well, like I said, like these are all older videos.
I know.
And it's like that, the algorithm, like I clicked on one and then all these other videos come up. But I'm actually thankful for it because they're a lot more interesting than Tucker Carlson. And for some reason, like I clicked on one Tucker Carlson interview and he keeps popping up in my feed and I can't stand that guy. It's so sick of him. Anyways, I don't think the cops should be doing traffic checks at all. I don't think they should be doing, monitoring our roadways, because I think a lot of the animosity with police starts there. And if you think about it, like they have to hire so many police officers just to monitor our roadways and that. And if you got rid of the cops monitoring all of our roadways, you could actually narrow down the police force to better officers whose job it is to do, like, maybe they'll have more time to, read your constitution and know all your constitutional rights instead of having to look at all these traffic laws and know all these stupid traffic laws. But that's where a lot of the animosity with the police starts, is with not having to, but stopping all these, people for random reasons and, and then keeping them detained for violating some lame traffic law, like their tail light is out, like something that a cop should be able to just go up to you and say, "Hey,
Oh,
your tail light is out," instead of like, "I'm going to write you a citation for."
if there's one thing I will agree with, it is that, because I was just having this conversation with my wife not too long ago. We didn't have any issues, but we noticed a car in front of us who had a tail light out. And I was telling her, I was like, he's going to get pulled over and he's going to get a ticket. He might not even know that his taillight is out, because
Right.
that's the one thing you can't tell. Like, the only way to know if your taillight is out is to somehow get out of the car while you're driving and look behind you.
Yeah.
So they really should have a system of, you get a warning, like, hey, your taillight's out. I got to put a little sticker on your car. And, if you don't get this taken care of, the next time you get pulled over with that sticker, you're going to get a ticket.
There was
Instead
one
of
guy.
just, nope, there you go. Was that going to be
Yeah.
$80?
There was one guy, black guy, of course, that he actually carried extra taillight bulbs in his glove box.
Smart.
It's sad. It's sad that you have to go through that, just to not be harassed.
Yeah, well, not to keep going down this path, but yeah, a lot of police officers that are doing traffic detail, they get told, you got to earn X amount of dollars.
That's the other thing too.
So you have to go out and look for these things.
Exactly.
And just, no warnings, just write that ticket. I was admittedly illegally parked somewhere once, many years ago. And I arrived back at my car the moment that a police officer was noticing my car there. And I saw him with the ticket book, and I was like, I'm really sorry, but I'll move the car right now. I'll get it out of here. He's like, well, I already wrote the ticket, so
yeah,
there you go. There's no, there's no leeway. It's just, well, I took the time to apply the letters to this paper.
Yeah.
Well.
Well, did I ever I probably told this story before, when Sarah and I got a speeding ticket on our honeymoon in Florida.
No. What were you guys doing?
Let me tell you. So our hotel, like my mother and father-in-law were nice enough to set up a hotel for us for our honeymoon in Florida, and it was on the coast. And the way everything in Florida works is, all the affordable stuff, like your affordable restaurants and places to go and whatnot, are like on inland, and then all the expensive restaurants and everything are on the are on the shoreline, right? And we just had a great day that day. We went. I took Sarah to this. It was like an infirmary for sea turtles, and Sarah loves turtles, right?
Infirmary.
Infirmary. What is it? What am I not saying?
No, you keep trying.
It was a hospital for sea turtles. Anyways, they had like their fins cut off or whatever because of boating accident, right, or their shells were all messed up or whatever. Infirmary. That's what it is. I'm not saying it right.
Sure is.
I'm writing it down and asking Sarah. What am I saying wrong? You'll tell me. Anyways, so we just had this great day and that. And we were driving back. We took our honeymoon. Our honeymoon was in October, so school season was out and everything. And so we were driving back through one of the side roads back to the coast. And their signage was really crazy there in Florida. And yeah, Bill, you can leave now. We're good. I already talked about you earlier. You can go back and listen to it. So we were driving back to the coast, and there was a sign. The speed limit was 40 miles per hour, and there was a sign that said slow down to 25 miles per hour with a flashing light. When this light's flashing, slow down to 25, because it was a school zone. So Sarah slowed down to 25 miles per hour, and there are cars like it was a two lane. We were on the outside lane, and there was cars on the inside that were just passing us like crazy. So, we're driving along and that, and all of a sudden this cop on a motorbike right up behind us, lights going and everything. And Sarah's like, is he telling us to pull over? I'm like, I don't know. So she slows down, and the cop pulls up beside her, pull over. So She pulls over into a parking lot. Cop follows us in, and we're like, what's wrong? He's like, do you know how fast you were going? And Sarah's, yeah, it was 25 miles per hour. He's like, the speed limit there is 15. I said, not the sign I saw. The sign I saw said 25 miles per hour. He's like, nope, there are signs everywhere. It slows down to 15 miles per hour. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, there's pylons in the middle of the road that say 15 miles per hour. It's 15 miles per hour. I didn't see them. I was looking at a map. Sarah didn't see it. She saw the sign, the flashing sign that said 25 miles per hour. So the cop goes back and he writes us up a ticket. Now, keep in mind, at this time, the Canadian dollar was only worth about less than 60 cents. This was the year 2000. So our Canadian dollar, like Bill Clinton had, your economy was like incredible at the time. So our dollar was less than 60 cents. It was like 58, 59 cents. He writes us up for a ticket for over 300 American dollars.
Get out of here.
Which, because we were in a school zone, the price tripled. He could charge us triple the price. And he hands us the $300. And I'm like, $300? We're Canadian. This is going to be like $500 Canadian. And he puts his hand on his firearm and he looks down. He's got the helmet on and the glasses. He looked like the buddy there from Terminator 2. And he looks down at me and he's like, you can go to court and argue it if you'd like. And
wow,
have a nice day. And he leaves. Sarah's like in tears crying. Sarah had to do all the driving, by the way, because I was only 23 and she was 25. And you had to be 25 or older to drive a rental car in Florida at the time.
Man, he saw you coming. He must have saw you guys at the rent-a-car or whatever.
You know what he saw? So this is a lesson for everybody out there. What he saw was that we had a rental car with Connecticut license plates on it. Mm-hmm. So if you are ever in the States and you're planning on staying in that state and driving around in that state, and the rental company gives you an out-of-state license plate, go back into the office and say, I want a car with an in-state license plate. Because what the police do down in the United States is when they see an out-of-state license plate disobeying any of their precious laws down there, they will charge you the full amount, because their attitude is when you come to Florida, you obey our rules. Or when you come to whatever state it is, you obey our rules. You read all the signs and you obey them. So he thought he saw
even
two
the
rich
ones
kids
that aren't there.
So he thought he saw two rich kids from Connecticut coming
he saw
down.
Two rich kids for sure.
Yeah, I bet, man. So that was quite the. That was not good.
Yeah,
I haven't been back to Florida since, and I'll never go. That was like
I'm sure it's more than just Florida.
Fuck you, Florida. I hate that goddamn state.
Hey, don't you make fun of Florida? That's
I'm not making fun of it.
That's where Trump has his
us.
legal residence.
Yeah, he can go too. Screw him too. Oh,
that's
man.
Where he has his. I'm allowed to vote from over via mail because I live in Florida now.
So, anyways, I had to go back and see what was going on, because I didn't see these where this traffic thing was. Like, I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. So around the same time the next day, we drove back in that area, and we're like looking everywhere for these signs. And we finally see it. It was one pylon in the middle of the road, because it was a 4-lane road with a meridian in the middle of the road, right? A grass meridian. And on that grass was a pylon, one pylon, spray painted 15 miles per hour on it. That was it.
One like little orange traffic cone.
One
pylon?
Little that Bell, Mama Bell would put outside of its van, so you drive around the van, spray painted with 15 miles per hour on it. Signs flashing saying 25 miles per hour on it, but the one pylon in the middle of the road said 15 miles per hour.
You got hit with a speed trap. That was like intentional.
So I wanted to fight this thing because I was so pissed off. But the problem is, if you want to fight it, we would have had to go. They would have assigned us a court date, and we would have had to go back to Florida, back to that exact county to fight it on the date that they say to come and show up at court to fight it. So we had no choice but to pay the bill. And that's what that cop knew. He knew that we would not come back to fight that bill. That was such an easy ticket for him to write.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah,
again, fuck Florida.
Well, it's the same as all the pickpockets and scam artists when you go on vacation. They know the out-of-towners and they know they're easy targets. So
Yeah.
if the police know, like, well, we got these people, they're in out of town, we can have a couple of little loopholes there that work in our favor. We'll be able to get some money out of them. And what are they going to do? They're on vacation. They're not going to come back for court dates. You're absolutely right. That's how they play it. I was a victim of what I believe was an invisible sign once. This is very early on after I got my driver's license. A friend and I, we were driving through Newark, which is not a nice area in Jersey. We had to drop another friend of mine off for something, but we were new to it was my first time driving through that area, so I wasn't familiar with the roads. So on our way back, we got a little lost, and we're just kind of like looking around, trying to find the right road. We didn't have a map. This is way before any onboard navigation or anything, so we're just looking down the streets. And then I'm going fairly slow too, because we're peeking around. And then all of a sudden the lights are on behind us. Cops pulling me over. So pull over to the side. What's going on? Any idea why I pulled you over? I'm like, no, we're just kind of a little lost here. And he's like, well, I know you're not lost because you would have asked me how to get out of here. And basically, he pulled us over because he assumed that we were trying to find drugs. We were like looking down the streets, trying to find someone to buy some drugs off of. And he gives us a whole lecture. He didn't give us a ticket or anything, thankfully, but he threatened us that if he saw us around there again, he would, lock us up.
See, that's a problem. They just assume you're guilty of something, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to be innocent before proven guilty.
Right, and there's no offer of assistance or anything. Like, just, I don't know. But sorry, the reason he said he pulled us over is because I went through a stop sign, which I didn't see any stop sign. I was going pretty slow.
See, that's what you can't. That's what you can't say. You can't say that you didn't see a stop sign. You
Yeah,
have to say,
yeah, exactly.
there was no stop sign. There is no stop sign. That's what you got to say. So yeah, these videos do pay off. I will say though, there are some cops that are really good.
There are some cops that are really good, but
that come off really well in those videos.
In the past few weeks or whatever, you're seeing that there are not so many good cops. And I always thought that it was just something in my area, that a lot of cops seemed like they were just kind of bullies who were getting off on their power trip. And I'm glad that, it's not only me. Some of that is true, but don't go picking fights with cops right now.
Oh, and by the way, we went to ask for some not legal advice, but they told us not to like tell the Ministry of Transportation or anything like that, because if they find out that you have, that's into Ontario, if they find out that you have a ticket down in Florida, they can actually like put demerit points on your license, even though it was down in Florida. Like it's
okay.
A little weird. But anyways, we did ask like a lawyer just like some side advice, some free advice on the side. And he actually told us that we were lucky that the officer didn't ask for payment right there, because they actually can tell you to pay for the ticket right on the spot.
Really?
Yeah, and if you don't, like they have the right to take you to jail.
What if you don't have the cash on you?
You go to jail until you get the cash.
Get out of here. That's ridiculous.
That's what he said. He's like, you're actually lucky that he allowed you to, drive off without paying the ticket.
I always assume if you offer to pay a ticket right away, the cop would assume it's some sort of bribe, because then cash can go immediately into the pocket.
See, that's there's so many. Yeah. Anyways, infirmary. I got it right. Infirmary. Thank you.
No.
It's infirmary. I said it right.
It doesn't matter what you say. It's in the recording.
But I said it right. Infirmary. Okay,
No.
let's talk about movies.
Okay.
I finally watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure Part 1 and Part 2 again. I've been
You mean Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? There is no
and Bill and
part one.
Ted's Bogus Journey. Yes. Bill and Ted 1 and 2. That's what I call them around here. Yeah, and they were both I remember Bill and Ted 1 being like really good and 2 being a bit of a disappointment. But watching them now, they're both like
they're on par.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a drop, like just a little tiny bit, because it's kind of a little bit of the same. It's like 2 is a little too samey, but not much.
Well,
like it's not.
It's same enough, but different enough. I was the same way. I always remembered 1 as being like a little bit better than 2. But going back, you realize 2 is actually really good because it's not them traveling through time again. They had the whole afterlife thing rather than the phone booth. So they changed it up just enough that you still have them on a very strange, kind of sci-fi wacky adventure. But they changed the rules a little bit. You get a few new characters in there. So they did a good job. I see them kind of on same level. Maybe 1 is still a little bit better.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like it had more, just a little bit more Carlin in the first one than the second one. I kind of forget about him in the second one. Like, oh yeah.
Well, he's at the beginning and then he's at the end.
Yeah.
But that kind of helps because he's not going to be in the third one at all. So
right,
a little transition,
which is kind of weird with time travel and whatnot. But anyways, and then I really like the robots in the second one, Robot Bill and Ted. I thought that was
the good robot us's.
Yeah, that was very well done. Just the whole animatronic or the
part two. Part 2 was really creative in their visuals. The one thing I really love that I didn't pick up on, years ago, but then when I finally noticed it, I was like, that was brilliant. Is they die in the movie, spoilers, and then it's them going around in the afterlife station. Exactly.
Oh yeah,
Taco Joe.
Yeah.
But when they are their afterlife selves, they're in black and white. And everything else is in color, and they didn't do like a rear screen projection or anything of them to make the effect. They simply put white makeup on their faces and dressed them in grayscale versions of their costumes.
Yeah,
to simulate black and white.
Yeah,
and it's brilliant. It's so simple.
Station, I got to admit, the alien station, that's where the second movie started to lose me a little bit. It got a little goofy.
He's a little overused.
Yeah, a little goofy.
A little overused, but not terrible. Nothing in there ever went too far. They had a lot of fun stuff. They go through heaven and hell. You got the Grim Reaper. You got the Easter Bunny and Bill's grandma. There's lots of like interesting little things, but nothing ever overstays its welcome too much. Maybe Station.
But I liked how Missy went from being Bill's mom to Ted's mom. I thought that.
Yeah, I hope she's
pretty clever. Yeah, I think she is. I think I saw like because as I watch these movies, I see like what's this actress? What's she been in? I think I saw her that she's in the third one. So
that's one running gag. They gotta find some way to continue.
Yeah,
they're good movies. They're very fun.
Yeah, I was really surprised with 2. I thought 2 was going to be a big drop off, but no, it wasn't. It was good.
No.
Both good times.
But yeah, I can't compare to Socrates.
No, Socrates was something else. And I don't know like how this third one they haven't written the song, but like that second movie really ends with them like being celebrated.
It does. Because even the end credits, they start doing all the news clippings of how everything went. But and J-Rock is the one who taught me this. That was not their song. They did
it was
a Kiss song.
That's right.
And for the longest time, I never knew that was a Kiss song.
Yeah.
For me, that's a Bill and Ted song.
He's right. It is Kiss. So yeah, they didn't come up with the song, but yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how they handle it, because it seems like as if they saved the world. But
Right.
they're gonna have to backtrack a little bit. They're gonna have to back
Well,
up.
maybe they explain it a little bit,
But I suppose
again, it's a goofy movie.
Right. And I don't know how many people are going to rewatch the first and second movie and even going to remember that, what happened at the end of the second one.
I was totally planning on rewatching them when you said you were going to, but didn't get to it. But I've seen them so many times.
So I ordered a B region version of Fletch Lives on Blu-ray. There is an A region version of it, but it's really expensive, and it was actually cheaper to order it and have it shipped from the United Kingdom to my home. It was half the price. It was $15 versus $35 plus shipping for the region A version. I don't know why. Anyways,
just ask Tokujo to hit you up there.
Well, it was only $15, so it was no problem and free shipping. And the smart thing that these places do is they mark it down as a gift. If anyone from the Canada Revenue Canada is listening, ignore that part. But that's a nice thing they do. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I watched Fletch Lives for the first time in a very long time. I forgot how much racial humor is in that movie, because Fletch inherits a plantation.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
It's a rundown plantation. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of jokes in the South of the KKK and Confederacy, and it also has I'm blanking on his name, but the guy from Blazing Saddles, the black guy from Blazing Saddles.
Oh, Sheriff. I don't know the actor's name.
Oh man, I just had it. I should have wrote it down. Anyways, he's in it. He's pretty good in it. But if you're a fan of the first Fletch, second Fletch, pretty good. There's a lot of good gags in there. Does a lot of
mid-80s that was made.
I think it was like 89, 90 somewhere. But I want the soundtrack to Fletch Lives, if I can find it, because it uses the same songs from Fletch, but they are definitely remixed. There's a remix in there, so they sounded pretty good. So I want that soundtrack.
I don't know why, but you're talking about Fletch Lives reminded me that I actually played a game.
My goodness.
I played I wasn't apparently arcaded out. I played Golden Axe 2, Revenge of Death Adder. You ever play that?
No, that's the one that Steven Eider goes on about all the time, though.
It's really good. Yeah, it's really, really good. Animation's great, and when you hit somebody, there's this like little shake in the animation that gives it like a little impact.
Oh,
a lot of great enemies and stuff. That's a fun game. The only thing that's weird is every version I've played, which is via emulation, there's always something funny with the screen. Like it doesn't scroll properly at parts. There'll be levels where you actually have to move like up, and it's weird. Like there's like layering issues. Sometimes something that's supposed to be in the background comes to the foreground. It only happens at certain parts of the games, but every version that I've ever played, Cleavon Little. Yes, you're right, Bill.
Thanks for writing Cleavon, enter, then Little. Make it in.
I think he's supposed to be like shouting it. Cleavon Little. Come
on, guys. Everyone knows Cleavon Little. Come on. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just had a brain fart.
He wasn't. Did he do much beyond that movie?
He's in Vanishing Point, which is like a.
What is that?
Racing, like a drive a car fast movie from the 70s. I think it came out before Blazing Saddles.
That's my favorite genre of movies. Driving car fast.
It's a car movie. It's a movie about a car, about a guy in a white Dodge Challenger racing in the desert, and it gets a little heady at times.
Okay,
like 70s movies sometimes do. I played a game. I almost was going to come on here and recommend it to you, but I'm not sure if you'd. I don't know. I kind of got annoyed with it. It's called the heck's the name of that game called? Chrome Heads or something? Oh, it was on Game Pass. The heck is that game? Blazing Chrome? Yeah, Blazing Chrome.
Blazing
That's
Saddles?
No,
Blazing Chrome?
Blazing Chrome, and it
Blazing Saddles racing game.
everyone says that it is a Contra, like a Contra kind of game, but I started playing it and it felt more like a arcade game from the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, where it had like that 16-bit and they even like aped the sound from that era, like like the screams and stuff, how they're like a little bit tinny, almost like that Sega Genesis sort of way. I was really liking it, but it's really difficult. Even on easy, they give you 7 lives, and if you run out of lives, you got to start all the way at the beginning of the mission and go through it again. And I was kind of like, I don't know. I didn't want unlimited continues. Just let me I don't even need achievements or whatever. Just let me like play through those games with unlimited continues, like you do with the Xbox. You just keep hitting that quarter button.
Ding, 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 ding. Yep.
But
Yep. Eat your supper, Bill.
Yeah, Bill's getting upset that we are chastising him, but that's what we do to all our listeners. That's what we do. That's what people come here for. That's why there's 3 people watching right now. That's how we get the views, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Speaking of drive a car real fast movies,
yeah,
I watched a Clint Eastwood movie called The Mule.
I've been wanting to see this.
Oh, you haven't seen it? I thought you saw
watched
everything.
it yet. Nope.
It's good. It's not great. It has problems. There are times when the movie is really well done and you're enjoying the character and the situation and everything feels right. And you're like, wow, hey, that's Clint Eastwood's on top of his game here, because he still does the producing and directing and acting in all those movies. Then there's other times where the movie just comes off as straight mediocre. You're like, wow, what a strange twist, It was going fine, hitting that, like 40 miles an hour, and then suddenly it's dragged down to 15. Bringing back your numbers. But yeah, it's good, but you notice some problems with it. And wow, I thought Clint Eastwood looked old, in the 90s when Unforgiven came out. I was like, man, that guy's getting old. Then $1 Million Baby came out. I was like, whoa, he's really getting old. Then Gran Torino, it's like, man, you are so old. You see this one. I guess this is his most recent, or at least it was 2017, 2018, something like that.
Yeah.
He is a skeleton. He's a walking skeleton in this thing.
Oh, he is 90 years old. 90. So he was at least 88, 89 when he made that movie. So
if you're grading this movie on a curve, like a 90-year-old doing it, it's a pretty darn good movie. That's an amazing feat. But there are a couple of things that just stand out. There's a scene where he and his wife, who I'm sure the actress is also somewhere in her 80s or so, are having what's supposed to be a hushed conversation. They're sitting together in an audience, and they're just kind of whispering to each other. But maybe it's because they're both so old and their voices are weak. They kind of had to artificially crank the volume up a little bit. So it sounds amplified in a strange way. So there'll be like little technical issues like that at times. And then other times just the story elements just feel very convenient. Like a lot of stuff just starts happening. Like, oh, hey, we need this. I don't know if you've if you're familiar with the story of it, but it's about drug trafficking, and
I imagine that from the title.
so there, there's money being made, and then there's all of these situations that come up. There's like, wow, we suddenly need money. How can we get money? And then, oh well, it's like it's just like one after another, like a domino effect. But it's a good movie for when it's good.
They can't all be home runs. I do find that like Clint Eastwood does have a bit of a clunker once in a while. I gave it like $1 Billion Baby. I really didn't care for that movie too much. I thought it was very
saw it
overrated.
once a long time ago.
Me too, but all I remember is that thinking that it was very overrated. Plus that infamous scene, spoiler alert for $1 Billion Baby, where she falls onto the stool, I guess, where the boxer sits on. She falls onto the stool. I mean, that had been used in a few comedy things. Like, I don't know if it was SNL or whatever, and I was like, I don't get this reference. And then when I started watching the movie, I could see it like, oh, okay, I could see where this is going. Oh, so it was a little bit ruined for me. But anyways, I didn't really care for that one. But when he hits a home run, it's usually a home run. Like Gran Torino, that's excellent. That's good times.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Love that.
All right, what else? What else have you been watching?
I watched for the very first time. I finally watched Vertigo. I had avoided it for a lot of years. I don't know if avoided, but it never piqued my interest before. And I had always heard a lot of people years ago told me like, oh, this is his best. This is the one you got to watch. But a lot of other people would say it's really slow. Like it's a
slow burn for sure.
It's a very slow burn. So I saw it come on Netflix. I'm like, you know what? Sure. Let's give it a go. And within the first, 10 minutes or so, I realized, yeah, okay, this is, it's going at a fairly good pace and everything. I can see where it's going. Once you get about, 10, 15 minutes in, that's when it slows down and it really takes its time. And definitely, this is the definition of a slow burn movie. But it's great. It's so slow, but it's so good. What really gets me is how Hitchcock used space in his frame. The whole thing is that Jimmy Stewart's got this fear of heights from an incident that happens right at the beginning of the movie. He almost falls to his death. And they do that zoom in rack focus thing to stretch that, at a couple of points in the movie, which has been overused in a lot of films since, but occasionally it's used well. But you can't really mess around with height too much within the aspect ratio of a film. So he does a lot of depth, and there are lots of big windows behind people in like every apartment, every office they go into. There's a huge window, and it just goes on, like the depth of field. Everything is so sharp, from right in front. There's no blurriness in that movie whatsoever, except for one scene towards the end, which I think was intentional when they're in kind of a very tight space. I kind of have to watch it again, but I think that's what was going on. I really don't think it was just the film got blurry for a second, but I think there was something there. But really great use of space and depth and, framing and all that. Good characters, good setup. I did get a little weary about, I don't know, I'd say like an hour and a half in when they finally hit that little Hitchcock twist of you kind of learn a little bit more what's going on. I was like, I'm not really sure I'm liking where this is going. But you stay with it for about 5-10 minutes longer, and then it hits like a really dark point, and things start going nuts towards the end. And it really works well. That final, I'd say 10-15 minutes of the movie where things start really ramping up was excellent. Really well done.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I mean it sure is slow, and I could see a lot of people criticizing this as Jimmy Stewart just mopes for 2 hours, and that's the movie. But yeah, well done, well done.
For me, anytime Hitch and Jimmy Stewart work together, they never miss a step. Like it was never they ever had a bad movie together.
Mm.
Jimmy was one of his favorite actors, and yeah, it's all like there's Rope. Um,
Rear
Rear Window. That was
Window.
that was excellent. And then The Man Who Knew Too Much. I think those were the
Mm.
4 movies that they did together. I don't think there was any more, but yeah, they were all good. And The Man Who Knew Too Much is a remake. Hitch actually remade one of his older British films for that one. Yeah,
Look at that.
good times. Well, that's good. Yeah, I agree though. Like it was like I remember the first time watching. I'm like, oh man, this is like, is it just me or is this drag? And like am I tired? What's because usually with Hitchcock, I'm on the edge of my seat. But that one, yeah, it was like.
It's
but then
slow
once it got
and it's over 2 hours. It's not a
yeah,
short
it's long.
movie.
Yeah, it's a long movie. But
Yeah.
I always enjoyed it, and plus I hate heights, so it speaks to me on a couple of levels.
I'm not scared of heights, but I hate ledges. Like if I'm up in a plane or something, fine, whatever. Go up in a tall
Plane's
building, fine.
Yeah.
As soon as you like, if I'm in a shopping mall and I walk near the banister and you're like, look over the side,
I get vertigo.
I get the vertigo. Yeah, my knees start shaking, and
Yeah.
my kids know this, so they annoy me, and they like go walk really close to the edge.
That's the
I'm
other
like,
thing too, right? It's
get away
not
from
just
there.
you. It's if somebody else goes up to the ledge, it freaks me out. It's like like it just like I could just see the railing falling over and everybody just falling. I don't know what it is. It's like a weird thing.
I hate those ledges.
Like I could go up in a plane, no problem, but the CN Tower, forget it. There's absolutely no way I can go up on that thing. I went up on it once when I was a kid, and I don't know how I made it through it. I like when the elevate, like it's an all glass elevator that goes up the CN Tower. And my dad is like, right up at the edge, like, hey, check it out, we're going up down. And as soon as the elevator started moving up, like I fell to the ground. I just lost it. And then like when we were up there, like the thing sways, right? Because it's so high up and it like just slightly, and I could feel it. And I'm like, okay, I'm staying away from all the edges, like the edge of the thing. I don't want to look outside at all. But inside they had like all these glass cabinets, and you'd look into the glass cabinets and they would have like, stuff from Toronto when the thing was built and the guys up on the cranes and all that stuff. So I'm looking at all these display cases and I'm looking at the one, and then I looked in one, and it wasn't a display case. It was
a glass bottom.
It was a glass bottom with like all the way down to the bottom, and I nearly I just went back and I nearly fainted. I'm like, oh man, they got to put a warning on that thing.
I did that once.
Now they got this thing called the Edge Walk, where you can walk around the outside. They strap you on to a railing, and like there's absolutely zero way you will get me up there. And if anyone I know goes on there, don't even tell me, because I can't.
Yeah, they have attractions like that where you'll be like on the edge of a mountain, but they'll have like a glass walkway that goes out, and you can just No, I was in Tokyo. There's a tower called Tokyo Tower. It looks just like the Eiffel Tower, but they have one of those sections. You go all the way up, and there's just a square that's glass, so you can go stand right over that and look down. And I saw like little kids like crouching down and like banging on it and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, friggin' no, get off of that thing.
No, that's my nightmare. It's going up into one of those things. And even like like it just gets into your head. Like if you're going up a set of like stairs that are all see-through on the bottom, like those wire mesh ones, and all I could see is just everything falling through the mesh, like everything like like the bolts coming apart and all that, and I'm just gonna fall to death. And
it's an endless free fall, Bill.
You're kind of out on a ledge every time you go live to air with Mars, right? Yeah. Okay, come on, let's go. Any more movies?
I
What
did
else?
watch The Blind Side,
Oh, that's
Sandra Bullock movie.
yeah, the football one.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, she's like this affluent, rich lady with family, and then they take in this poor kid who's like this big baby Yui kid from the inner city, and they help him out and end up, becoming his family. And it's a good movie. It's a good watch. It's not brilliant. Sandra Bullock's really good in it. She has a great character. Um, Fun movie. It's kind of like Rudy, I guess. It reminds
Hmm.
me a lot of that.
Yep.
I guess
Yep.
because of all the football and just the underdog story. But it was fine.
I didn't care for it. I thought it was like very by the books. Same
It's a
old
bit
sports
it's a
movie.
bit obvious where it's going.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see that it was based on a true story at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about football. I didn't know who this guy was, but I don't know. I thought it was all right.
Yeah. Yeah. I do agree
Nice.
though. Sandra Bullock was
She was
she was
great in
good.
it.
She had some good scenes in it, but I was really I could see where this is going. This thing is wasting
Yeah.
my time.
There
And
was one thing I thought
it
was
was
going to
hype
come up.
too. Big hype.
There was one thing I thought they were building towards, but it just went nowhere. And I was wondering why did they even put that scene in there? And I guess it's because it's based on a true story, so they had to hit, some of these details and stuff. But I don't know.
Hmm.
I'd say it's worth a watch.
All right. Anything else?
One more thing, and
One
then
more
I'll
thing.
let you
Just one
talk
more
about
thing.
just
One more thing.
Red Letter Media has ripped us off.
Again? What's with those guys? What'd they do now?
The most recent video that went up, they watched Mission Kill Fast.
Oh, those bastards.
Mhm.
Shame on them. Shame on them. They obviously saw this. They saw our they saw the
Absolutely.
video. Absolutely they did. I think there are subscribers. So
You got to get your ideas from somewhere.
yeah. Well, we have our date.
Like
Our
many
date is stamped.
podcasts do.
Our date is stamped on that when we did it, so we did it first.
Mm-hmm. And I was watching it, and I couldn't really remember a lot of the movie. And as they were talking about it, I was like, yeah, this is why I can't remember a lot of that movie.
Well, I editing the video. It's like a lot of the scenes now kind of stick out in my head.
Did you do one for Mission Kill Fast?
I started to. I don't think I published it because
You said something with our video.
Our video
stuff,
cut out.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So they took your scraps and patched it up and passed it off as their own.
Yep. Pretty much. Well, STC Pod does it, so why not Red Letter Media, right? It's all those 3-word podcasts.
Right.
Start to continue. Red Letter Media.
Hmm.
There you go. If it's got 3 words, they'll rip us off.
Rip us off.
Yep. Okay, I think that's it. I think we said it all.
Did you have something else in your? Oh no, you said Fletch.
Nope. Fletch lives. Did we talk about Mad Max?
No, we didn't.
Oh, well, I ended up rewatching Mad Max Fury Road, and yeah, it's excellent. That is.
I'm so tempted to watch that again. It's only been a month or so since I've seen it.
I watched all the Mad Max movies last year to build up to watch my 4K version of it, and for some reason I forgot all about it or whatever. I never got to the movie, so I
with all the other Blu-rays you've got.
So the 799 other Blu-rays and DVDs, finally got to it, and that is such a great movie, man. It just moves, and it's just that's a perfect action flick. And I can't stand that Tom Hardy in anything else. Every time he pops up, it's like, oh, this guy again. But he was good in that movie. He was good. I want. Where's the next one? Make the next one, man. They left it off perfectly.
Well, I heard something recently. I mean, I don't know anything about the backstory in this, but apparently he and Charlize Theron did not get along, and it was really
they don't need her.
difficult. Well, I'm saying, they, I was just surprised to hear that they had issues in doing this. I always hate hearing when people don't enjoy working together, especially when it ends up being a really good project. But I always hate hearing that. But no, I imagine from what I know of the Mad Max, which is not much because that's the only one I've seen, is that they're all kind of standalone. He just
Yeah.
Is like an A-team member who just goes around and helps people.
MacGyver or Michael Knight or
Right.
the Lone Ranger basically was
Yeah.
the first one of that ilk. But yeah, that's how they set it up. They set it up as like, oh, we're done with this. Now we can move on to the next serial for the next movie. So they don't need any. They don't need. Even though I thought she was good in the movie, I didn't have any problems with her.
Everything was aces in that movie.
Yeah, 5 stars, excellent. I forgot how good it was.
The guitar guy.
That was a good way. That was a clever way to get like that rockin' soundtrack in there. With like, you don't have to do that. You just kind of expect a soundtrack in a film like that.
Well, it adds that extra level.
Yeah.
And seeing the weirdos all decked out and everything, you could expect something like that.
Yeah. It was good times.
It was fun.
All right. Follow Retro Fandango on Twitter at retro_Fandango.
Just a moment. This just in from Toku Joe, our roving reporter. I heard the next one is a prequel to Fury Road. I do believe I remember reading something like that too. Like they're going to do more with Charlize Theron's character. Maybe make her the target.
Well, she was a some sort of ranking member in that guy's army, right?
Something.
He was like a captain or a capo, if you will, in the mafia.
I do remember reading something about her, and like they're going to do another one, and I don't remember anything else.
Well, if you remember at the beginning of the movie, she was was in charge of people, right? She was driving that truck, and the group was following her, and she was actually disobeying orders. But the rest of the crew didn't know that until later on. So
you got to take it up with Tokujo.
Okay.
And
who's
the director of this movie?
I'm just wondering how it works. It better be what's his name?
Miller something.
Mark Miller? Is that what's his name? Matt Miller?
I don't know. At this point, it's all between Mr. Miller and Tokujo. They're the only ones in control.
We'll never get this podcast down to an hour. Never. It's just never happened.
You told me it had to be 90 minutes.
Gordon Miller. That's his name.
Miller confirmed that he was working on a prequel focused
George
on
Miller.
Furiosa.
George Miller.
That's the name of the
George Miller. That's his name. Says in an interview with the New York Times, Miller confirmed that he was working on a prequel focused on Furiosa. The character played by Charlize Theron in Fury Road. Charlize Theron will not be reprising the role. So there you go.
You know why? Because she's in the infirmary.
Infirmary. I said it. Sarah, it's infirmary, right? Infirmary. That's I'm saying it right? Right? Infirmary. Yeah, see? Sarah's with me.
Yeah, after you had a few times to practice it.
He keeps saying right. I said infirmary, but I said infirmary.
I heard you say it.
You heard me say infirmary, right?
I heard you say the other one.
There, see?
See? No, I heard.
Say the other one.
You heard. Go away.
Thank you, Sarah.
Go get us some food. Nobody's on my side. Nobody. Tokujo, I bet you he's on my side. He's the only one. All right. What were we talking about? Oh, we were wrapping up the show. Discord. Don't forget to check out Discord. The topic of discussion in Discord lately has been all about budgeting. A lot of people were fascinated by my budget, and they've been sharing their budget and budget strategies. And
budgeting of what?
Just your budget. When you budget.
Just life?
Just your life budget. Not just video games, but just budgeting in general. How you keep track of all your expenses and what you use. Some people... Tokujo has the perfect name for the next Mad Max movie. It's called Mad Max Infirmary
Road.
Okay, we can't top that. Goodbye, everybody. That's it. We're done.